We are rolling. And you're good. You're good. When you're done, just
Okay. Got your thanks, Ryan. Okay, we're live today with the contract slayer of Atlanta, April Rogerson. April, who are you and why should we listen to anything you have to say? Where are you from? What you done?
Okay, so my name's April Rogerson, yay! And I am from Brooklyn, New York, and I have been in Atlanta for 15 years, and I have a lot of thoughts on a lot of things, and some little birdie thought that I should share them.
Tweet. So
That's the birdie.
From Brooklyn, what you doing down here?
That's a good question. How did I get here? My background is in social work, and I did work in child protective specialist when I was in New York. Moved here, kind of meandered and made my way, had a couple of different careers and such, and now I'm in real estate, and I love it.
So I've seen some pictures. You played some ball when you were in New York.
I played
Tell
some
us a
ball.
little bit about that.
No one wants any parts of me.
Because your husband tells me he's a better ball player than you are.
He didn't tell you any such thing. What he probably said was he was a better ball handler. He was a better shooter. But when it comes to boxing out and rebounding and knocking people out, no.
No? Can't hang with you?
Can't hang with me.
So social work in Brooklyn prepared you for real estate?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk for just a minute about the social work you did in New York and what you learned from doing that.
So my job in New York was a child protective specialist, and what I did was investigate allegations of abuse and neglect against children. A big portion of that was just kind of touching on and tapping on the needs of the family overall and not just the child, because there's something that was precipitating what was happening in that family for whatever the allegation of neglect was. How I relate that to what I do currently is there's something precipitating the family that you're working with to either purchase a home, sell a home, and tapping into that and touching on that usually helps get the job done and help them meet their goals, because they're not just a transaction to you. You have tapped into what was really going on with them emotionally, socially, economically. There's so many different aspects of that, and I think it really helps that I use my social work background to do that.
So I'm fascinated by that. When you were working with the kids in Brooklyn, how'd you not take that home with you every night?
So I say it's very much like nurses, doctors, firefighters, and all of the kind of trauma and triage that you do on a day-to-day basis with those types of jobs. You have to be able to separate it. You want to be compassionate, but you don't want to bring it home because it will drain you. And you're not going to be able to be of good service to them because you are emotionally drained. And it helps to help everybody's emotions stay kind of grounded, because that's part of your job as well. And it's part of my job in real estate as well.
It is, because it's emotional for the customers.
It's emotional for the customers. Sometimes the agents are emotional. So being able to really manage everyone's emotions, whether it was in my social work job or in my real estate job, is extremely important. And I think it serves me well.
So you and I get to talk every week. And sometimes it's about real estate.
Yeah,
but most times
it's supposed to be about real estate, but this is what happens.
No, we start talking about the world.
We do.
Right?
We
and
do.
You have some very smart, well-rounded views on the world. And I keep saying, well, number one, you're going to be mayor of Atlanta one day. I still say that. I think I got other people
Vote for me.
that
Vote
too.
for me. This is my campaign video.
But I think Live with the Slayer is about sharing some of the thoughts and ideas you have about what's going on in the world around us. And we want to make this a series, and every week a different episode where you get to talk about your thoughts and observations about what's going on in the world around us.
Yeah, I think that to your point of saying that you think that I have some interesting or unique thoughts, I usually don't share them. But I think that sometimes it is necessary to have some conversations that are either unexpected or some perspectives that are unexpected. And yeah, you guys will find that my perspective on some things are probably counter to what you guys probably normally think.
Why is it so hard to get you to share?
I think that the social media world has changed how people operate and how they interact with you. Their perspectives are very narrow in scope about who people are and what they think and what they should think. And it's not that important to me sometimes to have that battle, but I do think that there is a space for some dissenting or some outside of the box thinking that may be necessary. So I've agreed to do this.
Yeah, so I really can't wait to see where this is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And it is fascinating to me that when I can get you to express some of your thoughts,
Yeah.
it's eye-opening to me, but it's so hard to get you to do that. I have to really poke you to get you to come out.
I'm a middle child. What do you want from me?
You're a peacemaker?
Yeah, the middle child is the diplomat. I'm Sweden. It's like, those are your thoughts. Oh, that's interesting.
That's what I thought when I saw you today. You're from Sweden.
Yeah, I'm from Sweden. Purple hair and all. Yeah. So I think, again, in wanting to not cause any type of, because people really, really are tied strongly to their thoughts on things, even if they have not experienced things where they may have read about something, or their perspective about it is really only confined to their own experiences and not the world experiences or the people around you experiences. And I think that it's important that we're able to see the world from multiple perspectives and not just one.
So it's been a hard year.
Yes.
You know, we think back, like today as we sit here, it's about a year ago that COVID really started impacting.
It was to the date. I actually posted something on my social media, and the memory today was me saying that COVID has reached South Fulton, and just try to be safe and try to be calm and not get crazy just because it's here. But it was here. It was here.
So we've had that. We've had a global pandemic, which has changed people's lives. It's changed their health situations. It's changed our economy. But we haven't just had a global pandemic in the last year. We've also had a lot of social issues to wrestle with in the past year. It's been exhausting for the past 12 months, it seems.
And I think it's also been perspective and mind altering for a lot of different people that were able to probably not really see or hear these different dynamics, but the pandemic forced them to have to kind of be in that space and see it on the news. And there was a time when you might hear about these things, but you continue to go about your day. It was like, wow, that's terrible. And then you went on to pick your kids up from school and go to work and have lunch and do these other things. It was easy to disconnect. I think that the pandemic forced people to really truly look at things and see it kind of on a loop, where you didn't have a loop before because you had all these different things happening throughout your day that caused you to be able to disconnect from it.
Well, that's so true. I mean, you really just touched on maybe a feeling that I have is, do we have to keep talking about this all the time? Just want it to all go away.
I know that would be bright. That would be lovely, right? I don't think it needs to be talked about all the time. I do think that sometimes we get to a point where it becomes all encompassing, and that's all you want to talk about, or all you want to deal with, and all you want to do. But for most people, their lives are way more multi-layered than that, and we do have other things going on in our lives. Even as a Black woman, while I have my son and I have my husband that I'm concerned about, that is not something that I'm thinking about every single day. And I'm not going out to be like, I'm a social justice warrior 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay, good. So I as we get into the series, and I hope people are listening right now, you want to keep tuning in because we're going to dive into this one at a time. And April shocks me with how insightful. You always get me to pause and drive home that day going, damn, I hadn't thought about it like that. And that really annoys me.
I'm always coming in just for a little real estate conversation. But yeah.
Well, it always annoys me because I think I've got it all figured out. And then I have to go, yeah, maybe I need to rethink that one a little bit. Let's talk about you a little bit as a person. You're a highly successful real estate professional. Yeah, you are. And talk about your personal life. You mentioned your husband and your son.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So our son is 14. My husband's in the background right now. Hey, husband. And we have been together for 25 years. I know I look like I just one day out of 25, right? We've been together for 25 years. We relocated here to Atlanta together while I was pregnant, 4 or 5 months pregnant. We've built a nice life for ourselves here in Atlanta. We love it. And I think that it was the right move for us when we came.
Talk a little bit about your son.
Oh, he's my heart. My son is all things entertainment. He loves to sing, dance, write, act, model. If it's something to do with an audience, he wants some part of it. And he's a great kid. He's, he has his strong opinions as well.
How old is he now?
He's 14. He does not mind sharing his opinions. He's actually quite opposite of me.
Well, he's 14, but he's got to be 6'2". How tall is he
he's 6 feet now.
Okay.
Size 14 shoe, very big boy, and keeps growing.
I know. I keep thinking he's like 18 or 19.
Yeah,
he's
nope.
so tall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you seem a tad hesitant with this series. What makes you pause and go, hey, look, before we start talking about more than just real estate, it makes you pause for a second?
It makes me pause because I think that, again, going back to the whole social media aspect of it, we're in this very strange cancel culture time where if you're saying things that people either have not thought about in that way or that is in conflict with their value system, then immediately they're like, I don't want to do business with you. And I don't know that I care that much about that per se, but I think that social media has things happen in a vacuum and in a very small snippet. And if you're not able to fully contextualize what you're saying, people can take that small piece of it and run with it and make up a whole nother narrative in their mind that you may not have intended.
So I get to spend enough time around you to be able to say this, that in the past year, as hard as the year's been with so many different issues and just to me what seems emotionally exhausting at times, I've never detected a hint of bitterness or anger or fear or really any strong negative emotion from you around all the different issues going on. How do you keep your head on straight?
I think that my thought process about a lot of things is multifaceted, and I can see both sides of most circumstances. There are very few things that I feel so strongly about that is A or B or black and white. And I think that most situations are not as black and white as people like to make them out to be. So things like police brutality is wrong, period. But then there's all these different aspects of policing that I think are not black and white.
Good point. So before we finish with today's segment, there's a young person out there listening to you right now, and they're trying to figure out where their head's at in this world. Talk to them.
I think don't just listen to people and do not get bombarded or overwhelmed with the thoughts, because there's so much information now that it is difficult for most people. I think it's difficult for not just young people, but for older people as well, because they follow the path that they're already thinking. So they're not open to listening to dissenting ideologies or dissenting thought processes on things, and to formulate your own thoughts because you actually heard the other side and not because you're being in your own vacuum of noise that makes sense to you. So you have people that are actually receiving the information that they already believe. So it's not hard for you to agree with something that you already think to begin with. It is harder for you to receive information, a dissenting information, and then parse that out and say, you know what, I still think this, but some of this makes sense to me. And it's okay to do that.
I think that's been the biggest thing that I've gotten from you is get me outside my own little head The term I hear these days is bubble bias.
Mhm.
When we take in our information from one source 24/7,
Mhm.
and that's all the information we're getting, at some point that does become your reality,
Mhm.
even though it's not reality.
Yeah, it's not. It's
And
not all real.
that's why I'm excited about you doing this series. Can't wait to hear specific topics going forward,
Mhm.
because I think it challenges all of us to think a little bit differently.
Okay, so I've agreed to this, but we do need feedback from you guys to say, what do you think this should be called? We haven't quite come up with a name yet. We're working on some stuff, but if you have a suggestion of what you think this segment should be called, write it in the comment section. We'll take all suggestions. Nothing crazy, but good suggestions.
And we're going to have your email across the bottom of the screen here. Okay for them to email you and give them share thoughts and ideas?
Yep.
Good. And any subjects that are taboo that you're not going to tackle?
I don't know if there's any subjects that are not taboo that I'm not going to tackle. I'm open, and I'm open to suggestions from anything that people would be interested to hear either my thoughts on or just to have the conversation get started.
Okay. And I guess if somebody did need to buy or sell a home in
They
Atlanta,
should call me.
They should call us. That's great. All right, folks. Hey, tune in next week, and we're going to see what's on April's mind next week and where that goes. You just never know. That's the Slayer.
Bye.